If you were on the scene and you were powerful, like, to be honest, like, if you're not in those files, it would be an insult because it just means that you were a bit of a loser.
One victim statement said Epstein spoke about using his New Mexico ranch. If you were powerful and active in that world, not being mentioned would almost feel like an insult. One commentator said, it would mean you weren't important. That mindset alone shows how warped elite culture had become. There's also been viral commentary claiming that major artists participate in dark rituals involving extreme abuse. These claims spread fast online, but it's important to be clear. They are allegations, not proven facts, and many come from social media speculation rather than verified evidence. Jeffrey Epstein was reportedly considering cooperation with federal investigators before his death. That possibility alone raised serious questions about who might have been exposed if he had lived. Oprah Winfrey's name appears in a limited context within the Epstein files. The Department of Justice released thousands of documents, and Oprah's name shows up primarily in contact lists and correspondence. That alone does not imply wrongdoing, but it has fueled online speculation. Photos of Oprah and Epstein, along with references in emails, have led some people to question how well they actually knew each other. In this video, we're examining what's documented versus what's rumored. Oprah's name appears across filings, argue that repeated proximity to Epstein raises questions about how he was socially normalized among elites. Some emails suggest Epstein hoped to repair his public image through media connections, including people with massive platforms. Others argue certain emails may be unverified or misinterpreted. To understand the context, we need to go back to 2007. That's when Oprah launched the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. Years later, the school faced a serious scandal.
And I encouraged all of them, any of them who had actually been harmed, to please come forward.
Epstein spoke about unethical plans involving babies. These claims are based on secondhand statements and have not been independently verified. The same post referenced John of God, a disgraced spiritual leader later convicted of serious crimes. Oprah publicly distanced herself from him after allegations surfaced, and he was sentenced through the legal system.
You can get paid a lot more than that.
So how much do you want for it? Let's bid. I bid $500 for you.
I'm prepared to outbid him anyway.
Whatever I bid, he's going to outbid me.
I bought about $60,000 worth of eggs.
Yeah.
If you have abortion, that's very valuable. Umbilical cord, placenta, even your period blood is so rich with stem cells. Yeah. We regard it as waste, and it actually should be. It should be captured as recycled, and it shouldn't go to waste. It's life for somebody,
Him.
And it's life for
George R. Bush.
No, the best eggs are 60 to 18 years old. Those are the best eggs.
16 to 18-year-olds.
Your eggs get weaker.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So
you may not be our top candidate.
No, that's fine. I think that was my business anyway.
Some online personalities have claimed that unethical biological practices exist in elite spaces. These claims often mix real scandals with unproven accusations, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Footage has circulated of controversial figures discussing stem cells and biological materials. These clips are frequently shared without context and have fueled outrage, but experts warn against drawing sweeping conclusions. After Epstein's arrest, several artists spoke out cryptically about exploitation in the industry. Nicki Minaj tweeted about dark behavior among elites without naming anyone directly. Here's what Nicki said, presented as her opinion, not a verified claim. She wrote that powerful figures participate in disturbing rituals and that the truth would eventually come out. She wasn't the first celebrity to suggest the industry hides disturbing behavior. Still, her statements reflect personal belief, not confirmed evidence. That brings us to the core question many people ask. What was Jeffrey Epstein actually doing? Survivor testimony confirms Epstein was obsessed with control, genetics, and legacy. Court documents show he discussed unethical ideas about reproduction and eugenics with scientists and businessmen to create a controlled breeding program. These statements were reported in legal filings and media investigations. According to those records, Epstein wanted multiple women pregnant at once at his Zorro Ranch near Santa Fe. His interest wasn't pleasure, but obsession with genetics and lineage. Epstein openly discussed these ideas at dinners and meetings with high-level academics. Emails show he was researching concepts tied to genetic selection. The Epstein files include references to designer baby research ideas. So the question remains, why hasn't the Department of Justice addressed this part more clearly? And why are survivor accounts about these discussions still largely ignored? Those questions remain unanswered. The focus then shifts to Epstein's New Mexico property, Zorro Ranch. One witness explained how they began suspecting Epstein was involved in disturbing genetic ambitions after noticing him ordering large numbers of 23andMe kits and sending them out as gifts. According to emails in the Epstein files, some kits were allegedly sent to well-known figures. That immediately raised eyebrows. Around the same time, messages began surfacing where people hinted they were pregnant by Epstein or implied he had children. One 2011 email, reportedly from Sarah Ferguson, reads, "You have disappeared. I didn't even know you were having a baby. Congratulations on your baby boy." Another email from 2006, allegedly from Glenn Dubin, congratulates Epstein on having twins and asks for photos. Seeing this pattern, researchers began searching the files for the word babies. And that's when something alarming appeared. A document labeled Designer Babies, dated August 2018, listed like an agenda item. Another email titled Designer Babies, Brian Bishop, led investigators to ask one big question. Who is Brian Bishop? Public records describe Brian Bishop as a software engineer and biohacker known for promoting experimental genetic concepts using cryptocurrency funding. His work focused on speculative ideas around gene editing, including CRISPR technology, which has raised ethical alarms worldwide. In one email to Epstein, Bishop wrote, "Here's a deck about my designer baby project. We have questions about how serious you are about wanting this and what the ground rules would be for next steps." These messages don't prove crimes on their own, but they do show Epstein openly entertaining ethically disturbing ideas long after his 2006 arrest. After that arrest, Epstein appeared desperate to rehabilitate his image. Like many powerful figures under scrutiny, he leaned hard into philanthropy, donations to universities, funding research, gaining access to elite institutions.
The chairman of a prominent law firm is stepping down over his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Paul Weiss law chair Brad Karp says in a statement, quote, "Recent reporting has created a distraction and has placed a focus on me that's not in the best interest of the firm." The firm says Karp will remain with the firm, just in a different role. Senior Washington reporter Will Staken is here for more. Hi, Will. So what's the latest on this growing list of prominent people facing scrutiny over the Epstein files?
Yeah, Diane, well I think, Mr. Karp right here is kind of the latest fallout from these Epstein files. Like you said, the really powerful law firm Paul Weiss announced that Mr. Karp would be stepping down after his name appeared in these files. Now, the law firm did not give a reason why Mr. Karp is stepping down, and previously the law firm denied Mr. Karp had any wrongdoing, but with this release of these files, his name appears in the files, mostly with his assistant trying to schedule meetings with Mr. Epstein. But there's an email between Mr. Karp and Epstein where he's asking about if he could help, get his son some kind of job in an upcoming Woody Allen film. So I think these emails, obviously are continuing to have fallout across, widespread industries. It's kind of the latest fallout here. We saw recently that popular wellness influencer Peta Attia also stepped down from his role at the protein company David.
Despite being a registered offender, he was welcomed into academic and humanitarian circles. But that strategy didn't fully work. So Epstein appeared to seek validation from trusted public figures. That's where Oprah enters the conversation. Oprah's name appears in a limited way in the files, but critics point to overlapping connections involving Sarah Ferguson, Epstein, and Oprah's platform. One email from Sarah Ferguson to Epstein states she was scheduled to appear on Oprah and expected questions about her debts, a past controversy, and Epstein himself. She asked Epstein how he wanted her to respond. This leads to the most uncomfortable question of all. How was Epstein allowed into these spaces in the first place? He didn't stumble into royalty, billionaires, and heads of state. He was placed there. These relationships are built through gatekeepers, intermediaries, and institutions that benefit from keeping people connected and secrets buried. Royal families don't socialize with random financiers unless trusted figures vouch for them. And that's where institutional failure becomes impossible to ignore. Given how long Epstein operated unchecked, many question whether powerful institutions failed to investigate him aggressively enough. Joe Rogan raised the question bluntly. If I put a gun to your head, he asked, who do you think Epstein was working for? The honest answer? Nobody knows. Some speculate intelligence agencies. Others believe he operated in a gray zone, used but never officially endorsed.
Body that was very powerful. So like if you were on the scene and you were powerful, like to be honest, like if you're not in those files, it would be an insult because it just means that you were a bit of a loser.
Right, so the people who aren't in the files are losers.
Yes.
Okay. Are you in the files?
Well, of course I am, because it's any journalist that wrote about it.
That's an astonishing attitude, isn't it? You're the loser because you're not in this. I find that jaw-dropping.
Useful asset. What is clear is that Epstein had access to massive amounts of unexplained money. His wealth made no sense. And experts say money can be moved quietly through nonprofits, NGOs, and international channels. Eric Weinstein once said his first instinct after meeting Epstein was that he was a construct, not a natural figure, but something built. He even described Epstein meeting him while casually sitting with a young adult woman on his lap, mixing serious math questions with bizarre behavior. It felt staged, like Epstein was...
Let me just get real and say...
if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
Well, I don't know, right? So I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
Good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain.
Yeah.
He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, you know, if you're state-funded, you're funded by Israel, and Israel's funded by America, and, you know, there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like... Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman, I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, so her tits are juggling around. While
and he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing.
Was fishing for influence. And then comes the most chilling question of all. Was Epstein about to cooperate with authorities? There are reports suggesting Epstein's lawyers discussed the possibility of cooperation shortly before his death. No confirmed agreement was finalized, and no public client list exists. Officially, his death was ruled a suicide, but between malfunctioning cameras, sleeping guards, injuries that raise questions, and the fact that Epstein potentially had information implicating billionaires, politicians, royalty, and intelligence-linked figures, many remain unconvinced. To be clear, there is no publicly released cooperation deal and no confirmed informant agreement. However, FBI records confirmed that on July 29, 2019, Epstein's lawyers and federal prosecutors discussed, in general terms, the possibility of resolving the case and potential cooperation. Defense counsel did not present a formal proposal, but prosecutors indicated discussions could continue if Epstein accepted responsibility or offered meaningful cooperation. And then, he died. That timing alone fuels suspicion. A man with connections to the most powerful people on Earth, who may have known too much, suddenly gone before he could testify. We're told to trust the official conclusions, to believe justice was served. But if that's true, why does this story still feel unfinished? Why are there so many documents, so many names, and so little accountability? Maybe Epstein was just one man, or maybe he was a middleman, a hub. A liability who knew far too much.